kind of halfway between Vera's life and death. I got 17 years roughly from July 1992 when the phone rang in my office one afternoon in Kingston. Hello, I'm Vera Rich. I've got a Belarusian coming to London who could lecture on Chernobyl. And she landed very lucky because it was early July and I ran a 1-week radiation protection course that had room for a guest speaker. So I bit her hand off and said, yes, we can do that. And on Wednesday, the 15th of July, 1992, Vera Rich came into my life for the first time. Now this is a bit of a breakneck presentation, so as long as Igor can keep up with the speed we're going to go through these slides at, I'm just going to immerse you in imagery over the next 19 minutes that are left to me. And if we can bring that up full screen.
Just bear with me a second, I'll share with our participants.
I'll be pleased to see this, I'm sure. So I've kind of relabeled this, it's twice 17 years almost. It's a bit, where are we? Going from, I'm doing the calculation there, I'm now not sure. Yes, sorry, 17 is 92 to 2009, when Vera died. So I actually had about 17 and a half years with her. And it's a bit less than 17 years since she died, but it kind of feels like a bit of a halfway thing. The majority of what I'll say is actually the after life aspect, because most of you here are very familiar with what she was doing. Are we coming up full screen now? The slideshow on the screen.
I don't think there is an option here for full.
What's the start? The PowerPoint, just bringing it up to give each slide full screen. Oh, what's it coming to? Sorry.
It is as...
That is full screen on a white screen thing like that.
Oh, okay. Leave it down the side. Oh, sorry, okay. So I came into her life through Belarus and Chernobyl. I very rapidly realised I was immersed in the life of somebody who was multifaceted journalist, human rights activist, poet, translator. Let's move on quickly. So the first three are just to remind ourselves of what I got immersed in. And I do put that headline translator of the 51 Ukrainian poets on it. So there was some earlier information out, it was 50, and I've never forgotten Roxolana Zrivchak butting into a presentation a few years ago. Dr. Fudge, don't you realise it's 51 she worked with? She would always correct you. I don't know what the count is. We've never had such official academic scrutiny over our Belarusian side of things. And if we could move on, next slide. We'll be doing pretty quickly through just this, because this is just background stuff. So I came in through the physics stuff. She'd just become appointed as a journalist with Physics World, which resonated, but she was already well known for having as Soviet correspondent for science and Nature up to 89, and then New Scientist reached Europe, the Soviet Union, put out articles in Nature about Chernobyl, particularly the Chernobyl maps. So I didn't realise it was her until she explained. You meant to know about Chernobyl, didn't you realise it was me? You had to notice there was a little name at the end and it said Vera Rich. We, as scientists, tended not to notice who was writing this stuff. She, of course, lost her job as a correspondent for the Soviet Union on the grounds that the Soviet Union had ceased to exist, so her job ceased to exist. And that was it, so she went off to do more general physics. And now if we just move on a bit to the next. I'll give you very briefly the sort of 6 key recollections. I already started with the one when she stumbled into asking, could she come to bring a Belarusian. It was Alexander Mikhailовich Lutsko, became rector of the International Sakharov. It was firstly College of Radiology, ended up as being a university, now absorbed, certainly would have been against his wishes, absorbed by the Belarusian State University at the present moment. It still carries on. Vera creates quite an impression on any first meeting. not the least if it's a lunch, where she's trying to do everything simultaneously, from introducing her visitor to consuming at great rate her food and her meal, which certainly led to what we might call a shared experience over the lunch table. It did lead to me getting my invitation to Belarus, so thank you, Vera. You connected me, you're the person who connected me to Belarus that July day, and I first got out there in November. Fast forward to the summer of '93, and I'm in Troitsky, one of the restaurants there in the evening, and Vera is determined to have me know the entire history of the lands of Belarus from about the 12th century onwards and all the Grand Duchy of Lithuania stuff. Dr. Flowers, if you're going to work with Belarusians, you've got to understand the history. And here it is. It's one of those unforgettable, you know you were getting it full measure. I was very fortunate to have, following 16 years of her, where you could pick up the phone and consult and get it from the Vera mouth. Fast forward a bit further, I mean, it was a really thrilling time, the 90s, although it was declining politically, and Vera was following all that and advising on it. And it ended up, through my youth democracy work, we could tell British Embassy warned me, look, you're not going to be staying here much longer. And I got kind of very politely and delicately intercepted, and over a 2-day typical formal process, very kid glove stuff, I was duly invited to tell them, when are you planning to leave, Dr. Flowers? It brought up a case of, when are you planning to leave and just don't come back again? And I have not been back again. But when something like that happens, you're about to go down to a police station, you phone Vera. And Vera had the story out in hours. Before I'd even left the country, I was front page on one of the Belarusian newspapers on the Saturday morning, having had my first part interview. She was just amazing, and needless to say, Radio Svoboda, Radio Liberty, they were, as soon as I got back to Britain, I was on the phone to them. I actually told them I wanted to leave on the 2nd of August, but I left on the 1st, just in case, and confronted a border guard with a CCCP. The only document they could find to give me a stand-in visa was a Soviet Union paper. Can you imagine what border? I must move on more quickly. So the Belarus bit, Vera was very compartmentalised. I didn't know anything about her Ukraine stuff until we started attending the 2004 demos outside St. Volodymyr at the Ukrainian Institute. And we go along together because you've got to get involved in this Ukraine stuff. And by then, I'd been stopped from being in Belarus because it was July 2004, and that great political process at the end of 2004 was taking place, and Vera duly suggested that to the early 2005 I get to Lviv, and that leads on to this amazing first speech. And I asked her for advice, as she would do, and she said, Dr. French, you've got to quote some Shevchenko. And I was actually in on Sunday, and by amazing coincidence, the Oblast, Lviv Oblast, held their Chernobyl honouring and presentations in the very same Hall of Culture. It's just alongside the Politsky Palace. Those who know Lviv, on Kopernika, there's a nice culture palace place that's run by the Oblast. And it really brought back the memory of me standing there. And he chose that line from Shevchenko that has this, was it, "Oh my flowers?" And of course it was a deliberate, obvious, humorous play on my name. I'm Alan Flowers. And where shall I send you now? It was also working through the fact that I was organising with British government money, Belarusians, to go to Lviv, to go to Ukraine. So she had a huge play on the fact that here was this Dr. Flowers sending his little flowers, these Belarusian students, youth, to Lviv to learn a bit about what Lviv was really like, which was a great experience. I think if we can move on to the next one, because I'm going to use, we'll have to go very quickly now, on to the next slide. Her and modern technology. Well, I actually am a physicist, and I sort of had been living with IT for quite a few decades. So the number of phone calls over my internet's not working, or can you help me, can you do this because I can't do it. And it did mean I got immersed in our wonderful multimedia poetry presentations, which Alison sitting here also very much got immersed in. In 2005 we got Mazeppa to My Dan, which actually ended up at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. There was one on Chernobyl, the star, gosh I'm forgetting, the Chernobyl star. And the third one we did was a bit later on, the Mosai. And I'm pleased to say we have some audio recordings in a moment. We're going to see if one works. So if we move forward, we've got a very moving little thing. That one where we do have a video. I'm going to show it here. It's a bit technically complex. Unless you want to show it. Oh, you've got it. Well, okay. Could you fast forward to about 2 minutes, just to get the little bit where she does her stuff. There we go. Let's listen to the live Vera about there. That's good. Not a minute and a half would do. Forward, not too much. She's singing Socks. It's Christmas time, 2001. That's about, yeah, before all the cancer stuff.
And before the Ukrainian teeth.
А чому я їх не чую? Коли я закрию, то я закрию, зараз будуть дівчата.
Yeah, I mean, she was a performer, wasn't she? I mean, even when she had a cancer operation, she would join in annual scientific conferences and leaping and jumping about the stage. She just loved the performance. And she's got great audience interaction, hasn't she? What a performing poet. There's a lot more of that. And Pavel, I have in my bag an amazing tape, this one very precious videotape, which we've been taking ages, largely due to me. We're going to get it onto digital format and be able to distribute it a bit more. We'll have to get Hannah, I think, to dress up as a Vera Rich lookalike and learn how to perform like that.
I think that would be so much fun.
Oh, you know, I'm sure.
It takes practice.
Lots of things she found. Let's move on a bit and we'll get a little moving on hearing her voice. So if we could now move to the audio one. This is her in the lab. That's the end of the video. We can close that down.
Okay.
And
Audio?
yeah, let's listen. This is Ivan Franko conference 2006. She couldn't make it. She came to my university, the lab where we got photographed, and we recorded this 20 years ago.
Because I couldn't be at this wonderful conference in person. This is a great disappointment to me. As I think many of you know, I've been working on Franco's poetry now for more than 50 years. There is very little I can say to excuse my absence. I have been ill and my treatment has reached a stage where I have to attend the clinic every day for injections. And I cannot be having injections in London and being in relief at the same time. First of all, the doctors won't even allow me to travel. So, I just wanted to wish you a very, very happy, good, successful and fruitful conference. And I look forward to seeing some of you, many of you, all of you on some other occasion. Slava Ukraini, Slava Pamati, Velikого poeta Ivana Franka.
Beautiful. Oh, what a clear, isn't that diction just wonderful? She speaks English quite well. Right, on to the next one. Well, I've really fast forwarded through the 17 years, as I said, because we're 2009 now. That's her room, that was her bedroom, and I was there on the 19th of December. We had Cagliari. I do distinctly remember phoning her. She wanted to perform a poem. It's 2009 with these not very smartphones we had in those days. And I had to say to her, I really regret this to this day, because she wanted to perform verbally and get her acoustics across to the gathered party. I had to say, look, I just don't see how this is going to work, I'm sorry. So we kind of cut her off, and that turned out to be, we didn't realise then, it was the last opportunity, because it was Saturday, the 19th of December 2009. I went round as a sort of consolation, made sure the bottle of Harelka was there, which she requested, and spent a bit of the evening with her. She clearly wasn't well, and I said, oh, you're not going to get cold. No, I've got a cat to keep me warm. Pino would cuddle her to keep her warm. So that was that day was the last time we did see her, and she died peacefully, likely the next day. And that then opened up a whole period of people communicating, because I knew nothing about her will and what she decided, but she decided 2 people should be her executors, myself and the husband of Hilary Shears. Hilary looked after the Manifold Poetry magazine. Only one problem, Hilary's husband had died a few years earlier, so I'm the one executor with everything, and it was a pretty whirlwind process. And one of the things that came out of the woodwork, if we move to the next one, was yeah, and on to this. This really is a fascinating. So I've said in the V, we've got to get a film of the young Vera and this Oxford period, this whole thing. Now it is quite controversial, and I know I'm hearing people in the audience who've got things in their head about concern what happened about that period, but he is the person who communicated with Vera about all the Shevchenko things, and I got a letter, and I think it's been shared around. A lot of academics have this, because the next one is a statement on how did she do these original Mosai translations. The key words, and there's a lot of text there. I translated for Shevchenko's poems literally into English, and she then tried to put it into a smooth versatile form. That's the core bit. And of course we know Vera was primarily a poet, wonderful linguist, what a vocabulary, and I mean the skill was there. It was all Vera's that got the feeling, the tone, the rhythm, everything that we've heard talked about earlier. But I thought that was a lovely piece that Vladimir Mikola, our good friend at Oxford, over the 56-57 period, created these first, with her, these first publications. And so if we move on quickly now, we'll have to scan through quite quickly. So the funeral there in the Catholic Church, and moving on. Her wish was complex, as Alison I do know. Yep, London, Britain in other words, Ukraine and Belarus. I want to be in 3 places. Well, we managed to get her to 2. If we fast forward again, the one in Ukraine got there first after the committal. That was the formal creation of the ashes. So we now had the cask, and Ukraine moved very quickly, and we had a location at the cemetery there. As you got to Tsarskoye, that's the hill, and just behind there is the, they'll be very familiar with that approach. And there's the original steps, which have been reconstructed now. And here we are. That was the space made ready, and I arrived on about the 13th of April 2011, and the Ukrainians were just marvellous putting this together. Later, if somebody could help me, I've forgotten the name of this person. It's
Januszkiewicz.
oh, yeah, gosh, did he know? Igor Lukovai, the former Minister of Culture of Ukraine, Igor Lukovai there, he fixed it all up in Kyiv, made sure we're okay with the ashes. Brilliant. And these are the words. By the way, it was Roxana Zarivchak who advised on the words for this stone, and we'll come to the Belarusian one later. It was Father Sergei, who advised and proposed the words for that. Let's move on quickly. That's just, how many days? 6 days ago. Beautiful. Children from the local school turned out, the staff and the researchers at Symposium. There's the Ukraine colours on the stone, and well, guess who laid that one? No, it's there. and lovely colours. So, okay, quickly move on. Of course, the other resting place, the church. The stone was made in Rivna, and this wonderful wooden icon. We just move to the next one. This is thanks to Jane, this wonderful photograph we have coming next. Oh, you've fast-forwarded that one, yes. There's Vera. Her saying her slayer of her dragon being cancer. And she would pray there. Let's move on quickly. So it had to be St. George. That was carved by a wonderful wood craftsman in Brody. Ukrainian, beautiful Ukrainian craftsman. I'm not allowed to go to Belarus, so we're not going to fix up anything in Belarus. Wonderful party there, keep going on. Recognise a few faces. Tara Schmier, who spoke earlier, represented Van Franco University. And here's this will, of which there is a date on the bottom. I don't know what Tara was about that. Anyway, Mikolai Foskaya witnessed it. And she, if we move on, so it's all there in writing. 5 beneficiaries. And the Manifold magazine got our English stuff. The Van Franco National University ended up taking everything that nobody else wanted, basically. So they've got enormous piles you'll see later. Skorina Library was quite selective, it was Belarusian things, Father Sergei sort of cherry-picked. But also, they're holding her original school books. I mean, there was loads of stuff there. Vera was a brilliant mathematician, he was a youngster. You see all the ticks, 5555 marks, wonderful. Next, she wanted books to go to charities. Well, there's a couple of numbers, I think, but different ones here. In fact, they depleted a bit as we went on, because I did let some of the paperbacks go. We've got her original electronic data sets from both the late 90s and the last computer she was working on, and that's been worked on. Jim Digney has it. Journalism, move on, right? Science journalism. So there's all that stuff, and if we could get the bit with the illustrations, if you just move down there. Zarufchak was, of course, with her, the role there, and I was fortunate. We've got some recordings of her describing. I really had to be careful, because being a scientist, I don't like sort of pronouncing the best, the greatest. That's one of the greatest. But then I learned that she would interrupt me if I was too modest about Vera and point out that in Roxolana Zarufchak's view, she was the greatest translator of Ukrainian literature in the 20th century. So she had a great love to the end. Yes, that 99, it was a different date that we saw in another letter. I thought I'd found the earliest one, but of course we know there's that route through Canada we had. Keep going, and we'll just finish off with what happened to the delivery of all our books and documents. I was very fortunate, through the need for vehicles to go to Ukraine last year, we got all these books, and they're now, resources are tough at the moment, so I have to admit they've been there since March 2025, so if anybody wants to go out to Van Franco University and sort through books, Castle, there's a devil of a job to do, and we're trying to find people. It's not for lack of money, it's actually the human resources. There's so much going on there at the moment, but it'll get done, and it's very safe in a vault right down in a basement, and all our notes. Yeah, it was boxes and boxes of stuff that took me years to get around to sorting it. That was one of the storage places, piles of stuff. Eventually it went over in these convoys. That's an ambulance, that's Vera's stuff in the ambulance, so double purpose. It was wonderful. We both got the books there, and we got an ambulance to the front. Next, we're on. So we've not only got our books safely, keep going. That's the head librarian at Van Franco. Was I a happy man last year? The other thing that happened last year is we got the Vera Rich Street in Kaniv. We want one in Lviv, and preferably Kiev as well. There's only one Vera Rich Street in Ukraine so far. We've got to get a few more. I mean, Lenin had them all over the place, didn't he? Right, next, let's keep going. Oh, and the other dream is, right, so here's the future coming up now. I've already bought that dacha, that's a place that's in my name, and the plan is to have it as a little centre for students, because I was appalled at what I could understand. Lviv students don't easily travel there now, and often they just say, well, it's fine, where would we stay? So the intention is we'll get that done up as a kind of Vera Rich centre, and there's other things. Now, there's also on the go not just Tara Schmear's book, but Bob and Liz Newman have got pretty well compiled and got the text of, they've collated as many of Vera's English language poems as they can find. They're still adding, and got the third one, Oksana Zhera is going to do Lesa Ukraina. We got Ivan Franko, we got Shevchenko from her, and there's a feeling there's a gap there. So if you just go to the end there, I think we're there now actually, because I don't need to, I wouldn't want to advertise one thing that's still to come for Vera. Ivan Franko gave her a great honour, we've already had a gala concert at the Ukrainian Club. We're here today, and there's one more to go. Don't miss the 9th of May in the evening. I'm sure Alison's going to say a bit more about that in her bit. I won't preempt her, but I think it's just great. Massive amount of honour events for Vera. Big thanks to Ukraine. I wish we could be doing the same things in Belarus, but that's going to be the future. Thank you.